only thing we have to
Beer.
is
Beer.
itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Only no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer! Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters, where we're going to bring you the news and reviews of some wonderful brews. My name is Dan Baker, joined as always by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and our fermenter
Wayne Baker.
Now today we are on location. We're out and about, and I like where we are because I don't think we've ever been in a place like this before.
This is a first.
This is a first
I
for
was
us.
trying to think about that today. Have we recorded at one of these establishments before?
One of these establishments.
I'm trying not to steal your thunder.
It's
but
totally fine. The thunder is shared.
You know what, Dan? I'm excited to be here.
Oh, my God. Somebody dropped the word before I did. Okay. Well, we are on location. We are at Lancaster Homebrew, and we are in, of course, Lancaster, as if you couldn't get that already.
at a homebrew shop.
At a homebrew shop in Lancaster, conveniently called Lancaster Homebrew. But we have never been at a homebrew shop before, at least to record. I'm sure we've all been to one to shop or, just look and browse and dream someday. But we've got two guys with us who are kind enough to donate some time. Gentlemen, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves.
I'm Mark. I'm the owner here.
Mark and...
I'm Greg. I work here.
All right, fair enough. Well, guys, thank you so much for having us out here and for sitting down with us. There's a lot of good stuff we have. We have a sipping beer that's with us. What are we sipping on?
We got we call it Citra Smash. So we brewed this. It was just British two-row and Citra hops. Good old Citra.
I like the smell of it. It's very... The Citra comes through. It's very citrusy.
It's a very nice showcase of a very nice hop.
It smells amazing, yeah.
Ooh.
And it has, considering it's only 4% and it's only one malt, there's a lot of complexity and a lot of substance here.
Yeah.
Just goes to show you that you can make session IPAs that are not just watered down hop water.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
As many people bitch about, but...
Well, to hell with them. No, it's very good beer.
So if
Thanks.
someone wants to brew your Citra Smash, can they come to the store and get this recipe from you?
They can, yeah. In fact, we just put together this. I did all grain. It was kind of an experiment at home, but we just put together kind of a partial really an extract version of it. We just put that in the books today. So
Very cool. It's delicious.
It is very delicious. We should also mention this episode is brought to you by, of course, Audible. You can go to audibletrial.com/beerbusters. Sign up for your free, I repeat, free 30-day trial of Audible. Download an audiobook. You get to keep it, even if you don't keep your membership. Almost any book you want to read is available as an audiobook. I have a backlog of things I'm waiting to read, and I can't wait. I say read, but really listen to. Have somebody read to me, which is good because I do a lot of driving to get out to places to record. I can listen to books on the way. So if you happen to have a long commute or you just like hearing people read words to you, audibletrial.com/beerbusters.
Yes. And as long as we're on that train,
We're on the
I would
plug
like
train.
to mention that we are now officially on Patreon, which is a website where you can support content creators online. You can go on there and you can donate a few bucks to us each time we release a podcast episode. And in return, besides just the feeling of being totally awesome, you will also get cool perks. You'll get behind the scenes exclusives. You'll get to see content that no one else gets to see. And you're going to see a gag reel from our Patreon promo video coming up very soon.
Scared.
I'm terrified.
My
I'm
compatriots know how well that's going to be.
Compatriots.
And it's really awesome. You can donate $1, $3, $5, $10 each time we release an episode. You can donate as little as $1 a month. It's fine. It's cool.
Yeah.
Every little bit helps. So patreon.com/beerbusters. Go ahead, check it out.
Yeah, there's the rewards too. They vary. We may add, we may subtract, we may embellish, we may improve.
Oh, we will definitely
We
improve.
will never detract.
We only improve. with
Only
age.
improve. You can only. This is one of the cases where you will spiral upwards.
Spiraling
Spiral
upwards from now until
Wow,
the end
sell
of
it,
time.
boys. Sell it.
Hashtag spiral
On the Patreon activity feed.
Yes.
Available exclusively to our Patreon patrons.
exclusively. Well, on
All right, that's enough of that.
What should I promote now? You both did a commercial. Now I feel like I need to promote something.
Follow us on Vine.
Yeah.
Our Vine is awesome. It
Yeah.
features Rich a lot and Wayne a lot.
Yep, but not me because I'm never around.
No, not usually you. I'll have to Vine you tonight.
That sounds so weird, but I know what you mean. Okay. Well, on that note, we should get this show on the road. Okay, so 2 local stories this time, which I like to keep it local because there's a lot of good beer in the area.
This is going to be a local show.
It is going to be pretty much a strictly local show. which
how we
is
do.
great. Yeah, drink
We're going
local.
to talk local and we're going
Hashtag.
to drink local.
And we're going to eat local charcuterie.
That's right.
Yeah.
From Sheets. Thank
From
you.
Sheets. But not Wawa. I had a Wawa coffee on the way here.
I had a Wawa egg sandwich for lunch. You
They're
would have
good.
been so proud of me.
I
I'm
am.
eating Wawa, not Sheets.
Yeah, congratulations.
It was tasty.
It was
I would
great.
get it again.
Guys, can't we all just get along?
We are getting
All
along.
convenience stores are created equal.
Except
That's
for
not true.
7-Eleven.
You just ruined it. You just
Although
ruined it.
7-Eleven did not sell me a winning Powerball ticket, so they get shit from me. But we have local news stories. We posted an article on our Soch about Trogs expanding. And,
Yes, we did.
Yeah. And I didn't get to read the whole thing, but I wanted to talk about it.
Maybe if it was on Audible, you would have heard the whole thing.
Somebody would have read it to me, and I could have signed up for my free 30-day trial at audibletrial.com/beerbusted. No, so Trogs is expanding, and they are doing so they can create and ferment more wood-aged specialty beers.
Yes.
Which should be really, really cool. It's supposedly going to be completed by mid-April. Now, they did say that it could, depending on weather and some other factors, be May, but they want to definitely get it done in the first half of the year, which I think is great because that means it's a high priority for them. They are calling it the Splinter Cellar, and it will include 3 wooden fermenters, each of which is more than 23 feet tall and able to hold up to 10,000 gallons of beer. The project is also going to add a glass exterior walls to the northeast side of the brewery, allowing brewery visitors a view of the 3 towering behemoths from outside, according to an artist rendering of the project, which the article I have and the one that we posted has the artist rendering of it. That looks really, really cool.
I just want to know, where's the parking garage going to go?
Now, there was, at the end of the article, a little bit I'll mention about that. I promise.
Thank you.
So Chris Trogner, who is the co-owner of Trogs, said the timeline might run, as I said, into mid-May, depending on weather conditions. And since it involves exterior work, that's a pretty heavy factor. Over the next few months, Trogner said the brewery hopes to release bottles of bourbon barrel-aged Flying Mouflon. Am I saying that right? Mouflon? We're good on. Yeah. Which is barley wine, and, of course, the bourbon barrel-aged Troganator.
Yum.
Yes.
The Double Bock and one of the brewery's flagship beers, which we had on the show when we were at Sunny Bray.
We did indeed.
Also local.
And Wild Elf, right?
Yep. Brewery also is aiming to release Wild Elf by the time the Splinter Cellar is finished, Trogner said. The beer, as explained by co-owner John Trogner in the news release, features Mad Elf aged with more than 600 pounds of cherries in wooden fermenters.
And soured, obviously.
Right.
Yes.
The expansion.
That's the important part. Come on.
I mean, the cherries are nice and all, but
Cherry schmerries.
The expansion project will also include moving office space and building a courtyard and green space along the building.
Ooh, I wonder if Fedge will get a new office.
There you go. Now, there was a nice little press release from Chris and John, a nice update they had. A lot of the points were already outlined in the article before they posted this part. The last paragraph, though, says, finally, we're excited about some additional exterior changes. We'll be building a courtyard and green space that runs along the building to create a dedicated pedestrian path separate from the parking area, and we will begin working on the parking lot upgrades with long-term goal of increasing parking spaces. We're looking forward to bringing...
More like long-term necessity.
Right. Yeah. We're looking forward to bringing this space to life, and then we'll tackle whatever comes next. So they didn't say exactly where in relation to everything the parking is going to be, but it is a concern that they have.
there you go. May I also suggest an apartment complex, Trogs, if you're listening?
Yeah.
I mean, how cool would it be to live in an apartment at Trogs?
That would be pretty cool.
That's true. And I have to give a shout out to our wonderful DD and my loving husband. He had a half day this week.
Oh.
And he called me on my lunch break and he's like, I'm in Hershey. I'm like, what? He drove to Trogs while I was at work to get me Nugget Nectar.
Aw.
Yes.
That's a good husband.
Tis the
It is
season.
Nugget nectar time.
Necker.
Yes, it is.
Nugget necker.
Yes.
So that's a good husband.
So while we're on the subject of Trogs, I saw your notes about this story, and it reminded me I wanted to bring this up. What do you guys think of Trogs' redesign?
I was actually going to ask that question to you, so I'm glad you brought it up.
Okay, well,
I
I'm
hated
asking
it
you.
at first.
Okay.
I absolutely hated it. But now it's kind of growing on me. I
Did
think it's
you-
because it was so different
Right.
from like the
Yeah.
what we're used to.
Yeah, that was
Change
going
is
to be my
hard.
question. Do you think it was because you were so used to
I
that,
like
or...
the new Nugget Nectar look. I like the cans.
I don't think I actually saw the can.
Well, then
I saw several of the labels. I like some of the new beer labels. I'm still not on board with the actual brewery logo because I think Trogs had a really awesome logo
Yeah.
and it was very classic. Although
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I have a T-shirt with that logo on, which means now that's like
vintage.
Vintage.
So I am hip now.
You're an OG.
Yes, because of that. So I just, what about you guys? Any opinions?
You know, I just the other day saw one of the new logos for, I think it was Nugget Nectar. So I honestly didn't even know about what they had going on. So sounds good though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's neat that they're growing and I don't know, whatever, changing.
It's they're making it a little more modern.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Have you seen it, Greg?
I have, and originally I thought, kind of along the same lines. I like their old look, but you
Like, what are you doing?
exactly, you kind of get used to it, and kind of has a little bit more of like a handmade feel to
Yeah,
it. you know,
that's true
which
too. I didn't think of that.
I think they've been taking that angle on their marketing anyway, so it makes sense. From
I do
that
I do
angle.
like the font.
Yeah. I think I'll get you. It'll grow on me.
Yeah. No, you're right. It will.
It's like mold. It will grow on you.
Wow. Okay.
Hey, sure.
Now where I saw that going.
It also
Fair
will
enough.
force people to buy all new merchandise and all new
That's
stuff.
true. That's true.
I need that. It's just like whenever a hockey
Although,
team comes
I
out with a
mean-
new jersey and you got to buy the new jersey. He
As
doesn't.
much as whatever sports. As much as I love to look at and think about beer logos and labels and stuff, what matters is the beer that's inside.
Yep.
And that's
Touche.
always been great and always
Yep.
will be.
And
so.
they put out phenomenal products.
I mean, they could write a Sharpie on just a blank white. It'd still be Troke's beer.
Yeah. It's still well. I mean, the Scratch series was.
Yeah.
So the other local story I had, quick blurb: former guests of the show up at Hijinks Brewing, they are starting to distribute in cans.
Yay.
Yeah, so they're starting off with Wicked White, which was the Belgian wit beer, 5%, which was, I think, pretty much my favorite beer from that night. Because it started off the night so well. And then, sure, we had everything else that was spectacular there. But
And then
They
we
also-
had spirits and we
We
had
had
mead
whiskey
and
we
then
had
we
gin
went to
and we had meat.
that was a night to remember that I barely do.
Yeah.
And they also have Hop Havoc, their IPA, which is 8%. They're going to release that in cans. They are starting off with the Lehigh Valley. But a quote from Kurt says they are excited to offer our beverages to craft beer lovers beyond the borders of Pennsylvania, meaning they're going to start expanding to all of Pennsylvania and the surrounding states throughout 2016. So,
We're going to be brewing a lot.
yes, guys at Hijinks, congratulations. That is awesome. I can't wait to get a 6-pack of really both of them probably. But I did see they're going to be available in 12 packs at distributors and then 6 packs and individually at taverns and what have you. So very excited to see that go down. Congratulations, guys. And I guess that just means we have to get back there and ask them about it.
Faux shizzle.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. And then we'll get even more drunk as we go. But as we had mentioned earlier, we are on location, Lancaster Homebrew. And I keep looking down at the notes that we have, and it might just be...
This is the most notes I think I've ever put together for an episode.
Look at the very first line. The episode
yeah.
number...
Oh, I printed it before you fixed it.
Yep, Lancaster
Lancaster
Homework.
Homework.
We
Oh,
are at
that's
Lancaster Homework today. I guess it just must be...
Shows you how my day job.
See, now
affects my night job.
now can I just say this is the advantage to me adding to the notes at the last minute on Thursday night before we come out to record, because I caught the homework typo and I fixed it. And you have to be early and ahead and have
Yeah,
things
how
worked
many
out.
of your typos have I caught?
All
Come
right,
on.
fair enough.
Come on. Come on.
But we're on location, Lancaster Homebrew, not homework.
Not homework.
And I'm very happy to be here, and I look around and I see a lot of things that I should know about that I really don't, even after close to 3 years of doing this podcast. But what I also like to see is, for the people who don't necessarily like beer, there is a wine section. So do you guys then sell the materials to make your own wine?
We do, yes.
Cool. What is involved with that? I know this is a beer show, but what's involved with making wine?
Grapes.
Well, with the wine kits we have here, the juice kits, it's really pretty easy and actually easier than the beer brewing process because we're not boiling anything.
Right.
So the dirty part of the whole process, which is crushing the grapes and all this and pressing and all that.
Or the fun
I was going to say it's the fun part, right?
So that part has already been done for us, kind of simplify it for the typical just person at home, So it's really just mixing up water, a few other ingredients, throwing the magical yeast in there and let them do the thing just like the beer process. But it's very easy. And we have a lot of it's funny. We've seen the beer customers that come in start off home brewing, and they kind of mature a little bit, and the wives come tagging along, and they spot the wine, and now they're interested in that. So,
Or in Steph's case, the mom tags along.
Yes,
Yeah,
my
I've seen
mother
that.
has been begging me to. She's like, "You have all the stuff. Why don't we make wine?" I'm like,
it's the same equipment, yeah.
Yeah.
So it can be used for
Eventually.
either or.
Is it the same?
Pretty much.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I guess it's got to ferment. And That's what gets
Just
it
need
the
a
booze.
different bottles and a corker. It's pretty much all.
And a corker.
There you go.
And
corker.
Rich is holding up, what is that?
Ricky's cheese making
kit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And-
Another product of fermentation.
Well, yeah, I guess so. And then, of course, you have the cheese to go with the wine. Or you could just get a box of Franzia and a pack of American cheese and call it a night.
Wow.
No, please don't. Please never, ever, ever do that.
Well, I mean, depending on what's going on in your life.
Depending on what
sometimes
stage of your life.
you need something like that.
If you want to spend less than $10 and feel fancy. But there's a lot of stuff that's here, and what I noticed the lack of would be like Mr. Beer kits. I got one of those for Christmas, and
We'll save those for Kmart and Walmart.
yeah. Well, I got one for Christmas, and I never really brewed. I mean, we brewed together at Boobies, but I had never brewed on my own, and I haven't cracked it open yet. But I wanna do it. I know the stuff that comes with it is not going to make the best beer in the world, but it's what I like of it is it's an easy way to get into it, an easy way to learn it. So then you can graduate into coming in and getting the real stuff that you guys sell here.
I totally agree. It's a great door opener,
Yeah.
and so I have no argument. I have no problem with some of these other type retail stores putting them out there. They have no clue what they're doing. So, but people get them as gifts, and then they show up at our door.
Yeah, I was going
want
say
to
you
learn
think
more, you know. So
every 10 of those, sort of quick start brew kits that they sell, one or two of those people is going to get into it, and they're not going to go back to Kmart to get their ingredients. They're going to come to a place like
Right.
this,
Yep.
And you can work your way up. Most people will start extract and then do like the partial and then get into all grain. And it is that transition. And here, you guys have the equipment and the ingredients for almost any level of home brewer. You can have the home brewer that's just coming in and being like, I've never done this before, or I watched a friend do it. I want to do this on my own. What do I need? And then the home brewer that's been doing it for years and years and, just comes in and gets their ingredients or wants to get some advice from you guys. And I think that's the key. A lot of people order their things online, which is fine. It's delivered right to your door. But I actually attended my very first Learn to Homebrew class, one of the ones that Mark had when you were at the old location right down the street. And I took advantage of the nice discount that you offered us. And I bought everything. I'm like, I'm getting this discount. I'm just buying it all. My glass carboys, my buckets, everything.
So it all came from here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the one down the street. But yeah,
Well-
it came from Lancaster Homebrew. And I think the interaction that people get when they go to a store and actually talk with Mark or Greg or whoever is behind the counter, that's so invaluable because, I have this recipe, I wasn't too happy with it, I didn't like this about it, what do you recommend? Well, why don't you try a different yeast, or why don't you adjust your grain bill, or why don't you, they can give you suggestions on how to make yourself a better brewer. Like when I first transferred from bottling into kegging, I watched videos and I have friends that keg, but I came in here and I'm like, okay, I think this is what I need to buy. What do you recommend? And it's just that interaction and that conversation that you learn from it. So I think that's why homebrew stores are so important.
Right.
You don't get that when you go onto a website. Now, on the other hand, though, you also do have an online store as well. So people that don't live in Lancaster, they can maybe Skype with you then. Order from your store and Skype with you so they can talk to you. So, for me, I like the interaction. I like just tonight, you didn't have the yeast that I was expecting to pick up, but I ended up picking up a different yeast I've never used before, and I'm very excited about it. So Mark was able to kind of guide me in a different direction to pick a different yeast. And I may have been at home online going, oh, what should I choose? But, I think that's special.
Yeah. The interaction is always nice. And that's why I always like, especially when it comes to a hobby shop, to have the local interaction with it, to have somebody that's there saying, well, like you said, try this instead of that, and recommending a new yeast or something. That's to me what it's all about. That's part of the camaraderie that comes with brewing and beer overall.
Beer in general. The whole craft beer, it's all just very social and interactive, and you share your beers with your friends, and
yeah, absolutely.
So
and maybe someday graduate into opening up your own microbrewery.
Not every home brewer needs to do that. Listen to me,
Exactly.
people.
Oh,
If you're a
here we
homer, you
go.
do not need to
Here
open
we
your
go.
brewery.
That's why I said maybe someday. And yeah.
So, Mark, is that how this kind of came about? Did it start as a hobby and then?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'll open a
Yep.
homebrew shop. How did that come about?
I had. It was my brother-in-law that actually exposed me to it, and just pretty much everybody always has somebody that's showed him how to show him the ropes, and we were at a family get-together, and he was breaking out these home brews and some homemade wines he had done too. And I thought, man, these are really good. I can't believe you made this. You got to show me. So that's how it all started as a hobby. And then it was fortunate enough to a business opportunity did come my way, and just kind of went with it. So,
were you ever did you ever think about opening like a brewery of your own, and then you kind of thought, well, that's not really for me, let me do a homebrew shop? Or was that ever in your sort of sights? Or
I never had the idea of a brewery before the homebrew idea. I've been asked that a number of times since I've had the homebrew store. Seem to know a lot about beer. Why don't you open your own brewery? But it's just not really where my interest and desires lie. As we mentioned already, that I enjoy the social interaction. Greg and I, we get to know a lot of our customers come in on a pretty regular basis. We know them by first name. We even get to know some of the rest of the families. We've made deeper connections. So I really enjoy that part of it, and it's just the variety that we get to do here. So the whole brewery thing just hasn't been a draw for me. It's been fun now to see some of our customers, come through in the last few years. I've grown in the hobby and really got passionate about it, and now they're the ones opening up the breweries here locally. I just the other month, I believe you're at Mad Chef, right?
Yeah.
Francisco.
And so, it's I've enjoyed being a part of it from that angle of it, and supporting them as they've moved on and taken their passion to a different level. So I'm happy where I'm at.
Good.
And I can speak from experience that it's pretty awesome to be involved in the craft beer industry and not run a brewery.
Yeah.
Have a different way to experience the whole industry and the world of craft beer. So that's pretty cool.
So how long had you been homebrewing before you opened up the shop?
I don't know. Time's kind of been getting away from me here, it seems.
Perhaps about 13 years, maybe.
Yeah, well, as far as when I started homebrewing, this was open, so maybe 6. No, that's not right. I have terrible math.
All right, well, we'll break it down into 2 questions. How long have you been homebrewing?
13 years.
And how long
roughly.
has the store been open?
6 years.
All right, 13 minus 6 is
7. There we go.
There you go. We figured it out. I knew we'd get there, guys. I knew we could do it.
Math was always a little, not my best.
No, that's why I went into broadcasting, because I'm terrible at math. But Greg, how long have you been homebrewing?
Well, I've been homebrewing for about 5 years now. 6 years. I guess I'm going on to year 6 now. I started in 2010, early 2010.
You came on board here. When did you come on board?
2012. So
Okay.
2 years after that. But
Okay.
Well, he actually had been up in Michigan and actually worked at Bell's.
I worked
right?
at Bell's Brewery
Oh,
for a
cool.
bit. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Kalamazoo.
Yeah, Kalamazoo.
And in what capacity? What did you do there?
I was working in their homebrew shop, so
cool.
not as many people know they do have a homebrew shop
didn't know
attached to their
Nice.
to their brewery.
That's like, a lot of 3 Stars in DC has a homebrew shop. Ball's Point has a homebrew shop. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, Bell's actually started as a homebrew shop first for about a year, and then Larry Bell got into making beer. So
Wow.
yeah. So anyway, that was really cool to be there. But then we returned to Lancaster, and I was like, well, I liked working in a homebrew shop.
Yeah.
And,
Perfect. It was meant to
rest
be.
is history. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good timing. It was just at a point where things were growing for me, and I was needing some extra help. And he showed up and said he came from a homebrew store. I thought, well, I didn't have to train him.
Serendipity.
Interview over.
If you've got experience, you're in.
Yeah.
But that's so. Have you ventured into making your own wine to go into that side of the store?
Have you matured, as
Have
it
you
were?
matured?
Yeah, I mean, winemaking kind of got me into home brewing in the first place because a friend of mine did meads, and I was like, well, show me how to do that. And then from there, I was like, well, beer doesn't seem like it's that much harder. And then I got into that.
So you did wine first.
I did mead first.
Mead,
I didn't do like, your grape wine. I certainly didn't press anything before that, really. But I got into that, once I started working here. I was like, I need to, increase my knowledge more.
That's true. If people are going to be asking you questions about it, you want to make sure you've done it and you understand.
Yeah, I didn't know how to use a hydrometer until after I opened a store.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I was putting them.
Confessions of a homebrew store owner.
I remember we were kind of stocking the store for the first time, and I was putting these things away. And I thought, I'm going to have to learn how to use these things.
Well, and that is something.
I would do my brewing, and I just never worried about some of the details. The beer tasted good. I was happy.
It's not a necessity.
My friends liked the beer. Hey,
that's something you could be more comfortable admitting as a homebrew shop owner than if you did own.
Well,
if you were like the brewmaster somewhere, be like, wait a minute, you just learned how to use a hydrometer like last month. But I suppose, like you said, if the beer's good, the beer's good.
It's true. It's true. It is capable. You are capable of making good beer, even being a little naive.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's pretty easy. Of course, you can also make pretty terrible beer, too.
Yeah, I feel like making the terrible beers is easier than making the good beers.
But when you're doing it at home, it's okay. It's your own money that you're wasting. So yeah.
Not wasting.
It's a learning process.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, speaking of money, so if somebody wants to come and get the basics to start brewing at home, besides the Mr. Beer kits that are over at Kmart and wherever, what's the investment somebody typically puts in?
Initially, for somebody just getting started, we have basic equipment kits for $74. There's deluxe kits that adds some extra containers and accessories. It's $130. Once you have that, you're just getting ingredients for the home. For home brewers, we're usually doing a 5-gallon batch at a time, which is 2 cases, and on average, maybe $40 to make 2 cases for home brewing. So you can get in for as little as like $115.
It's not too
get
bad.
Up and going.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems it's like a rabbit hole, though. You'll spend God knows how much more money.
Then you have the equipment.
That's the problem. Every time I walk in here, I'm like, ooh, I never saw that before. I want that.
A new tool.
Which covers my eyes.
Yeah, you can save money making your own beer if you keep things simple. But as hobbies go, some people really just dive in and just love all the things there is to learn about it. And so you can go off and get fancier equipment and things. But I like to tell people, it is a hobby, so as long as you're having fun with it. If it's getting too complicated, then maybe we just got to come back to the basics and have fun just with brewing and keeping it simple.
And how often do you do the classes?
Classes, maybe it's probably once a month.
And you have a beginner class and an intermediate class? Is that correct?
Most of the time we're doing beginner classes, and we'll have kind of an intermediate class, introductory to all grain, probably in the spring and the fall. Mm-hmm. We'll do that.
And you guys learned a homebrew day or big brew, one of the big days. You
learn homebrew. That's in the fall, right, Greg?
That's the fall one, yeah.
So that and that's hosted by the American Homebrewers Association. Mm-hmm. So we always support that one. And then in the springtime, they have an event called Big Brew Day, and they have some recipes they'll put out, and everybody across the country, the idea is to brew that same recipe on the exact same day. So that's usually the first Saturday of the month in May, and so we always participate in that too.
Good times. So if you're not ready to invest yet, or you just you're curious about it, you can come out and just observe for a day and see what it's like when they're brewing or one of the classes and see what's involved. But yeah, it is fun and it is an addicting hobby.
Yeah, yeah. Even just from the sidelines of being the enthusiast, it's a very addicting thing. I'm gonna be the real novice for a second. And what is that?
So that's a conical fermenter.
Okay. It just looks like a hot air balloon.
For our listeners at home,
we're looking at a conical. No.
If you don't know what a conical fermenter is, Google it, and you will know what Dan is talking about.
And then feel free to laugh at me.
Well, it's a plastic one, food grade plastic one. So it's not your same as like the commercial breweries, a stainless conical. So okay. I'll give you that.
I still wouldn't have known what it was. Thank you for trying to give me that one, but I still wouldn't have known.
It's a place to keep yeast happy.
Yeah, there we go. Happy yeast makes
yeast happy.
me.
Like that.
Happy yeast makes happy me. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess one of the main reasons that we chose this time to come and talk with you, Mark, is because you guys have a kind of big event for Lancaster coming up, the Lancaster Iron Brewer Homebrew competition, and a competition that's been going on for several years now.
This will be the 4th. Mm-hmm.
And open to pretty much any home brewer, I guess.
It is, yes. Anybody who's brewed a beer is welcome to enter beer. And
Can I submit my Mr. Beer?
if you want to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I won't
All right.
have any guarantees.
Who doesn't want to drink an American Light?
There you go. And
I
this
like
is-
how they call it an American Light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
We'll have a conversation later about all the reasons.
Never mind.
And this is a.
I need to taste this though, Dan. When you finally do it,
When it
We'll
finally
taste it
happens,
on
yes.
air.
We-
Hello.
oh my God! Yeah,
Hello?
we have to. We have to.
How many of my beers have we tasted on air? We're tasting your
Yeah.
first
Oh,
one.
here we go. Anyway, the Iron Brewer.
This is a BJCP certified event. And
By the way, the rule is if you can't say BJCP, you're too intoxicated to judge.
Steph, how much have you had before we started recording?
none. I've been drinking coffee.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, the next question is who knows what that means or what it stands for?
Beer judge certification program.
Okay.
Yay! Good job. So entries are due by March 1st, correct?
Yes.
And $7 cash. 2 plain 12-ounce amber bottles. If you've homebrewers, if you've submitted beers for competitions like this before, you know the drill. Label, put a rubber band around it. No stickers, no unique markings. And are you guys pretty much going to style? They submit it with the BJCP. You're using 2015 guidelines,
We
right?
will be using the new guidelines, yes. So definitely,
exciting.
if you're looking into enter, take a good look at it. They did change some things around. It'll be good because it's going to be more specific, but just make sure you do find the right category, because if you don't, then they will be judging it based on whatever you that's the one trick about the BJCP judging is you do have to make sure you get it put in the right category, or else you'll get dinged, even if it is a good beer.
And not only will there be judges judging the beer, but there's also brewers that will be judging the beer. There's some unique prize opportunities with this competition.
Yeah, we're kind of changing up a little bit this year. Wanted to try something a little bit different, kind of, and mainly, I guess the big thing is we wanted to focus more on the whole local tie-in, because I think homebrewing and the craft beer scene and the microbrewers that are popping up are all interrelated, and we're all connected, and we need to support each other. So I wanted to kind of pull in more of the local craft beer scene. So we were kind of geared our prizes towards. It's always been one of the first prizes I won at a contest I had entered a beer in was over at Iron Hill, and I felt like I got lucky, but they actually picked mine was first place. It was a milk stout recipe I had entered, and I got to brew there. With their system, hang out, see how it was done, and then they had my beer was on tap then after a period of time, and I thought that was pretty cool. So that's always been I think a good draw for the aspiring home brewer, even if they don't have ambitions of being a professional brewer, but to hang out with a professional brewer and make their recipe and then tell their friends that it's going to be on tap over here. Mm-hmm. That's been a pretty cool thing. So past few years we've had one local brewery. This year we've expanded it to 3. So 3 chances to win, basically.
Nice. Now, what if all 3 try to fight for the same one? Will there be fisticuffs?
Well, I don't anticipate that to be a problem. We got 3 different breweries with I feel some different ideas of how they're brewing. I mean, we got Springhouse down here in the city is going to be is helping us out. Columbia Kettle Works, and then Mad Chef, which we already mentioned here. So there are we have lots of other great craft breweries around here local. These happen to be the 3 that are on board with us this year. But they all have I feel their own little bit of their own style. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. They will be picking their choices out of our top best to show round. So they're going to have a wide range to choose from. So yeah.
And not only will they get their beer on tap, but they get 5 gallons of their own beer then, and then also $200 gift card, which is pretty cool.
For the store here, yes.
Awesome.
Oh, cool.
You know, I mean, it is expensive especially for competition beers. You know, you always want to get the best ingredients and make those crazy beers. So sometimes
you generally
it's a little
don't
more.
use a Mr. Beer kit.
Yeah.
I'm going to win this.
When you know, and for this, it's only 2 12-ounce bottles. I mean, it's not much to give up, but knowing you have the chance to, I mean, you could brew like 4 or 5 more batches with that, or just buy more, like a Conical fermenter. Or
Conical fermenter.
I think it's a good deal. It's a good. How many entries have you typically gotten in the past?
We've had up to 200.
Wow.
So I'd like to see that again this year.
Yeah. And with the chance of 3 opportunities,
breweries,
I mean,
to be on tap and
we tried to, up the game this year, and just we want as many people as we can get involved. That's what we're looking for. So
very cool.
It should be fun. Yeah.
Who are the judges going to be?
So we will have a pretty large panel of judges, BJCP certified judges coming from around the region. Some will be coming from Maryland, Jersey, and Eastern PA and different areas of PA. But they will be here along with some of the local brewmasters that are around here. We usually get some of them pulled in. I'll have some fellows from the local Homebrew Club that'll help. As far as BJCP judging events goes, we usually judge in pairs, one BJCP, one non-BJCP. So it's kind of a mixed group there. But it's pretty cool because there's some guys that are gracious enough to come out and give their time helping us judge, that travel all around the country judging. They're way up there. They have titles of like Grandmaster 5 and things like that. It's pretty cool, and so it's even fun just to sit back in the background and just listen to them as they're judging and just learn. You can learn a lot. It's pretty cool.
And I assume, as in a lot of competitions like that, they will be giving feedback and tasting notes back to so prepare yourself, Dan.
That's the whole idea. We do bring in the whole BJCP aspect of it because it does give you some validation if you think you had a good beer, and some feedback if there's some things you're struggling with. They can pick out some of those things and give you some pointers.
Yeah, and I think something like that is super helpful if you're a home brewer with maybe not necessarily aspirations of brewing commercially, but somebody who's really passionate about perfecting to get those Grandmaster BJCP tasters to give you critiques.
It's terrifying the first time, though.
I'm sure it is.
I will admit, the very first time I ever entered a competition and I got that paperwork back, I was like,
but I can't imagine. I mean, I can't imagine a better source of advice, than something
right.
like that. Yeah.
So entries can be dropped off here at the store.
This is going to be the main drop-off here, not at the breweries.
By
here at the store.
March 1st. And then judging will take place on Saturday, March 5th at Springhouse Brewery. So can people come out and just hang out and like observe the judging?
They can,
or will they be in a secret hidden room? We
will be back behind, back in their brewery area. So people are welcome to come out and get a meal and enjoy some of Springhouse's beers. There's some balconies up around. You can kind of look down and see what's going on there. We won't obviously have any contact as we're judging, but yeah, you can definitely come out and just kind of
send positive vibes. Use Jedi mind tricks.
What went through my mind when you said you have those balconies looking over it? If you have like an operation room and you have
operating theater.
Yeah, it's an operating theater for people to learn and watch the whole thing. That's all that went into my mind.
Yeah, if you haven't been to Springhouse, they just opened their new brew pub on Hazel Street, and it's a pretty cool place. So I'm really excited that they are willing to host us for the judging. The past few years we've done the judging right here at the store. It's a little tight, so I think it's going to be a much nicer environment to be over at the brewery there, and we'll have a little more space and for just regular folks that are just hanging out visiting the brewery, just a little something extra to see while they're there. So,
but more importantly, the big announcement party, which will be Tuesday, March 8th at Columbia Kettleworks, 6 to 9, and you will be performing that night.
We'll do a little music there.
So I don't think we've mentioned the band at all. So you're in a band.
Yeah, we have a little acoustic band that I've been playing. I've been playing for a number of years, but so that's besides beer, as far as my passions go, music is my second passion, and so it's been kind of cool to find a way to incorporate that passion into supporting the craft brew scene, because I tend to play at microbreweries, and it's just it's been a lot of fun. So we're gonna do a little music that night beforehand, and
that's 2 Pints Shy. Don't be afraid to plug it.
Yeah,
right. That's 2 Pints Shy. And I think like every other beer fest I've been to in the area, you guys are playing.
We've done a couple, yeah.
Yeah, they were when we did the homebrew thing in Harrisburg for Harrisburg Beer Week.
Oh,
a few of the events at Hershey we've been to.
There's been events that we've been to where we were there earlier. You guys were playing later, and we didn't catch you. But Moo Duck was one of those.
Before,
but yeah, all over the place. So.
Good we
it's
enjoy your music. It's a good vibe.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And it pairs well with beer.
I would imagine so. I would imagine. But so you guys are playing at the announcement party. Do you have any other gigs that are coming up?
I'll actually be down at Columbia Kettle Works tomorrow night.
Oh, cool. Well, by the time this is released,
for those that are listening, that's not tomorrow. But
right. Yeah.
But at the end,
we'll be
January
around
29th. Mad Chef, right?
That sounds correct, yeah.
Because
so if you're listening to this
to
as it is released tonight at Mad Chef.
If you are listening to this on release night, listen to this first and then go to Mad Chef.
Or the other way around, that's fine too.
Well, yeah.
Although if you didn't listen to this first, you wouldn't know to go there.
You can look up 2 Pints Shy on Facebook.
I have a few dates here since we're talking about it.
So organized.
January 29th is Mad Chef. February 17th at Wacker Brewing. So if you haven't been to the new, what do they call it? The Little Dutch
Little Dutch Tap Room.
Little Dutch Tap Room.
Great place to hang out.
Very cool place. We were just there last weekend. February 27th back at Moo Duck, and we love those guys. And then March 8th at Columbia Kettle Works. And Columbia Kettle Works will soon have that new downstairs space, hopefully summertime. So that will be exciting too. Lots of cool stuff happening in Lancaster. Yeah. My glass is empty, by the way.
Yeah, I noticed, and I had a feeling you'd say something, so I feel like we should do this.
Beer me! Beer me! Beer me! Beer me!
Okay, so there's a few beers, and Steph is pulling out a bottle of something down there.
Speaking of Columbia Kettle
Bottle
Works.
of beer.
Obviously a bottle of beer, but
well,
yet to be named beer.
I'm so happy you brought this along.
Yeah, I'm glad you are.
I've really been wanting to try this.
Oh, I've been told about this, that we have it tonight.
Yeah, so there's a few reasons I brought this. This is the collaboration between St. Boniface and Columbia Kettle Works. I thought it was fitting because Columbia Kettle Works, they're one of the breweries participating in the Lancaster Iron Brewer competition, right? There's so many words. I'm afraid I'm going to say it wrong. I thought that would be neat. And last night, Barley Mo did a tap takeover where it was Columbia Kettle Works and all St. Boniface beers. So I got to, John was there and Mike was there. Unfortunately, Dane was not there, but his wife was there. So I caught up with them. And Rod and his wife, Christine, they were also there. So we were talking beer and Subarus and hockey and all kinds of stuff. Subarus. And he did stop by earlier, though unfortunately he was here before the mics were set up. But look for a future episode. We're talking perhaps early summer, late spring, hooking up with them. And he says Chad will come on the show. So we'll see. May take an
Steph
Imperial
doesn't
Stout or
believe
two.
it.
I don't believe it. I'll believe it when I see
believe
it.
it.
But anyway,
a couple
this
beers
is...
in them.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That's the plan.
This is recently they right before Christmas, I guess they had St. Boniface and Columbia. I guess for both of them it was their very first bottle release, and this is the double dry hopped Kettleface, or Kettle Face is how it's spelled, but of course St. Boniface Kettleface. It's their Imperial Red Ale, and they released it in 22-ounce bomber bottles. And I could not make it out for the release day, but luckily I have amazing friends that live in Ephrata. Thank you, Tom and Vicky, picked us up a bottle. So I thought this would be a fun beer to bring and pass around the table tonight.
That is awesome.
The crew at St. Boniface said that this did really, really well. They sold most of the bottles that day, and all of them were gone within a week. And coming up... to the day after this episode releases on January 30th is going to be St. Boniface's 5-year anniversary, and they are releasing the original recipe of hegemony in 22-ounce bottles. So that will be their next bottle release. And I have a feeling that will not quite last a week. Now that I think word is getting out that they are bottling and releasing bottles, Dan's finishing off the bottle. I'm
matching how much everybody else poured. Okay, don't make it sound like I'm hogging it.
But I'm trying to remember. I I believe at St. Boniface this past year was one of the first times this was on. It was around that time, I could be wrong, that this was on tap. And now this is the double dry hopped, and it's the first time in bottles now.
I believe so, yes.
Did you see? I love the background with their logos there. It's a beautiful bottle.
Yes, it is.
That's cool.
And a beautiful beer.
I did
It's
not expect
delicious.
this out of I didn't expect this flavor out of it, and it's really, really, really good.
It's amazing.
Yeah. The hoppiness is there, the little like dry maltiness kind of in the background.
Well, it's got all the
Little
great
caramel.
Yeah, like the caramely malt characters of a great red ale, but then because of course it's double dry hopped, you get the wonderful hop characteristics as well. I had to stop talking and take a sip for a second there. I apologize.
It's okay. It's allowed.
I wish I had more than one bottle,
really
but
good.
it's really, really good.
And I mean, from two awesome breweries.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't really expect anything else. This is.
I mean, we know both of them. I mean, Chad, I was lucky enough to intern under him, and I know firsthand what a talented brewer he is and how serious he takes the craft. I mean, you know, brewing is in his family, and he truly has a passion for it. And John just making killer beers for St. Boniface. Apparently, the Pilsner is going to be on again soon.
Ooh.
I was asking for it. I'm like, I need that Pilsner again. But, you know, to see the two of them come together, yeah. It's amazing. And last night, the beers on tap at the Barley Mow, Chad's Imperial Stout on at Columbia right now is phenomenal. And of course, I wanted the Hegemony too, but I was like, 2 Imperial Stouts on a school night, probably not a good idea. So I had their
YOLO.
Winfred, the 3% English mild
nice,
or bitter.
nice.
It was delicious. So, yeah, 2 great breweries. And
one incredible beer.
hashtag like, is Columbia Kettle Works in Lancaster County, or is that?
It is.
It is still so. Yeah,
Very western edge.
Lancaster County represent.
All right.
Absolutely. And so, do we know what the ABV on this is? I'm not seeing it on the bottle. It says Imperial, so
I can
a
look
lot
it up.
point
let's-
something.
yeah, a lot point something else.
It's ABV. I want more.
At least 8.
Yeah.
9. It says.
Wow.
9. Yeah.
Now, do I check it in under St. Boniface or do I check it in under Columbia?
Both.
Can you check it in twice?
Is that allowed?
Will that break Untapped?
I feel like out of
Will you be
any of
kicked
us at the
off?
table,
No,
you
if
would know.
anybody is allowed to break the Untapped rules, it's Steph.
yeah.
She can do whatever she wants. Then be like, "That's fine. You're cool. Don't worry about it."
True. I'm checking. Well, I don't want to. Like last night, I told him I had to have a Columbia Kettle Works beer and I had to have a St. Boniface beer. I couldn't like choose. I had to
Yeah.
spread the love. So I'll check it in under both, just so they both get the 5-star rating. You can.
Oh,
cut
you're
this
giving
out.
it a 5.
It's really good. I want more of it.
I don't know if I've ever given a 5.
Well, when you have my Mr.
Yeah,
Beer.
you can't be handing out 5s all willy nilly. This is why I don't untap.
You
It's
don't?
just too much. No, too much pressure.
Ooh,
And I don't need
I
to
got a
know how
badge.
much beer I drink.
I got Paint in the Town Red badge.
Hey, I'm getting close to. I am now only $299 away from my 5,000.
Well, and you know the other thing is, if I started now,
Wow, that's impressive.
4,701
You're up there.
unique
Choose the word
check-ins.
frightening.
4,000. What 700 and
4,701 unique check-ins.
one day there will be more breweries in the country than that you have.
You're
tickets.
just a little bit ahead of me.
Well, I have had this app pretty much since its inception, so that's
I
my
forget to-
excuse, and I'm sticking to it.
I forget to check in.
Yeah, see,
I'm
that's
only
my
at
problem.
790. I feel
Yeah, I'm at-
inadequate here.
I'm at
You didn't even
490.
get your 1,000 yet.
No.
Come on, get on
I do
this.
think I technically have 2 because Steph made me set up an account years ago, and I
You
checked.
were Wayne B.
I checked in like 2 beers and never did it again. And I just at this point, if I did, I'd feel like compelled to go back and check in all the beers I've had, which would take like 2 weeks of just sitting with my phone
Yeah.
and like.
I went back and
you have
rechecked
to,
it.
Even
you have
Rich
to
is on
taste
Untapped now.
everything again.
I could do that too.
Rich has 10 unique beers
Out of
on
your
Untapped.
10, how many of them are something Aritas?
There's a limerita on there. There's gotta
Lime-A-Rita,
be.
strawberry-Rita, coconut-Rita, Be Cool-Eater-Ritas.
Some of them are pretty impressive, though.
That beer was very good.
I wasn't the first to finish. I normally chug mine, basically.
Dan drinks.
We should
I'm
probably
the
start.
first one done. All right.
We need another bottle.
What's that
Call
saying?
Dane.
We
need
got
to-
Rich. Let's send Rich out. Get
Yeah,
more beer.
Rich, go to
I don't
Boniface.
have any more. We need to play the game before my glass is empty.
Surprisingly, I was not the first person to finish mine. And that just means I get to sip on something while Wayne makes us play a game. Wayne, what do we have? I mean, we were voluntarily playing the game, but Wayne's the one running. You know how this goes. I'm going to stop talking.
Dan has to say all those things.
What do we got?
I've got a gun to his head. Cheerio, podcast
Here's the
friends.
gun to the head again.
And welcome to Happy Fun Time Games, the only podcast trivia segment that fights injustice the world over with nothing but a super soaker and a ferret sidekick named Mr. Honeysuckle.
Wow.
Today,
I worry about you sometimes.
I know. How do you come up with this stuff?
Today, I thought it would be appropriate to return to what is fast becoming one of the most lauded of Happy Fun Time games,
Wow.
Band or Beer. And in case you're not familiar with how this one works, I will give you the name of something, and you must tell me if that something is the name of a band or the name of a beer. And we will begin in time-honored tradition to my left. And our first name of the game, is this a beer or a band? Dan, this is Rat Salad. Is that a band or a beer?
Gut instinct says band.
Gut instinct says band. Okay, Mark, what do you think? Rat Salad.
That's what I would go with.
You're going to go with band as well?
Yes.
Okay.
He's in a band. Let's listen to him.
All right. We'll see.
Hey, we're in a band too.
We'll see how it plays out.
Jeez.
Our instruments may be plugged into a PlayStation, but
Yeah.
Well, we did have that hit song years ago. I gotta pee really bad. I gotta pee, and it makes me sad. Anyway, Greg.
Good Lord.
I'd say band.
You're going to say band as well. And finally, Steph.
my gut said band too, but
Agree or disagree?
Are we all right, or do you buck the trend?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the thing. Are you wrong? I'll say band.
You'll say band as well. Everybody's saying band, and everybody is, in fact, correct.
Yay!
Yes, Rat Salad is actually a number of things, none of which are beer.
Thank God.
It's a savory treat made of blended rodent. No, it's a song.
It made in Iceland.
Made in probably. It's a song by Black Sabbath off the album Paranoid. It's defined by Urban Dictionary as the act of pulling out hair and throwing it into another's face, and not the hair from your head. And it was nearly the name of Van Halen, inspired by the aforementioned Black Sabbath song. Now, you may object, since Van Halen never actually performed as Rat Salad. However, it is also the name of an early Sabbath cover band, which is currently seeking a vocalist in Reading, Pennsylvania.
Hey!
Are you kidding?
Nope. So, if anybody
Wow.
wants to be in an early Sabbath cover band, hit up Rat Salad in Reading. And we're going to
Wow.
move on to our second name of the game. And Mark is going to guess first on this one. And this one is Lumpy Space Princess. Is that a band or a beer?
Interesting. Do I want to try to drink something that would be named
Lumpy?
Yeah, but then you think tired hands, and that all goes out the window.
That's
So-
true. It could be
Walking
anything.
down the street when the
Yes.
sun hits my eye.
Yes, and I'm dreaming of a
Of a lumpy princess.
lumpy,
White Christmas.
the lumpy maiden that got away.
I'm going with. I got to go the band because it just doesn't sound like something I'd want to drink.
Sounds something you'd rather listen to than
Lumpy.
drink. You don't want to drink anything lumpy,
No.
but you'll listen to lumpy.
Yeah.
I can get behind that.
Lump sat alone.
Lump.
Lump
Ah.
sad bone.
That's true. That's true.
Oh.
Okay. Okay.
See?
Peaches for me. Look
Peaches
out.
come from a can. Okay, so Mark is saying
They were put
band.
there by a man.
In a factory downtown.
Greg, is Lumpy
Lancaster.
Space Princess a band or a beer?
I think it's a beer.
You think it's a
Ooh.
beer? Okay, he wants that lumpiness in his mouth.
I kind of think it's a beer.
Not really.
I kind of think it's a beer too.
Steph's gonna agree and say it's
If
also
it's
a
not,
beer?
then it has to be like an '80s all-girl like punk band that just hates the world.
And if it's a beer, what kind of beer would it be?
What?
Dan's playing weird
It
sound
was.
clips.
It didn't work the way I wanted it to because it's both the same thing.
I don't know what kind of beer it would be, but if it is, I'm sure you'll tell us soon.
Okay, moving over to Dan, Lumpy Space Princess. Is that a band or a
I
beer?
am gonna say
Does your answer begin with B?
no. I'm gonna say
Followed by a vowel.
musical group.
You're going to say that is a musical group, also known as a band. Well, sir, you are incorrect, because it is, in fact, a beer. But it is first and foremost, Lumpy Space Princess, or LSP, as her friends call her, is the
Wow.
princess of, obviously, Lumpy Space, a character from the animated series Adventure Time. But it is also the name of a pineapple pink peppercorn IPA by White Flame Brewing
wait.
Company in Michigan.
Pineapple,
Pineapple pink peppercorn IPA.
pink, peppercorn,
IPA.
IPA. By who?
White Flame Brewing Company.
Okay.
All right.
Steph's on a mission.
Right.
I'm putting it on Patreon.
Look into that one.
Are you done, stenographer?
Shut that up.
Let
You're
the
the-
record show.
Moving on, you're the next one to guess, so you better
damn
social quickly. And the next name of the game is Wicked Lester. Is that
That's
a band
a
or a
beer.
beer? All right, Steph is pretty confident that that's a beer. Moving over to Dan, Wicked Lester.
I'm going to say beer just because she answered so quick.
Okay, you're going to agree with Steph because she was so confident in her answer. Mark, is that a band or a beer? Wicked Lester.
Yeah, I'll go with beer.
Going to go with beer as well? Okay, everybody's saying beer so far. Greg, you going to agree or disagree?
I'm going to disagree. I think it's a band.
Disagree. Circle gets the square because you are correct, sir.
Ooh, good job.
Yes, Wicked Lester formed in 1970 under the name Rainbow. Two notable members were bassist Gene Klein and rhythm guitarist Stanley Eisen, who later adopted the stage names Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley.
Really?
Respectively, yes. Wicked Lester would go on to become one of the most unaccountably successful and utterly awful bands in the history of the universe. I said it. Kiss.
Knock their music all you want. They have incredible merchandise.
And that's all they have.
You can buy a Kiss coffin.
That's all they have.
Wow.
So we're going to swing back over to my left to Dan for the next one, and the next name
Oh,
in the game is Soft White Underbelly. Is that a band or is that a beer?
I imagine it being not only a band, but like a deep Southern band, and they're just sitting out there showing their white underbellies, drinking their Bud Light, or their Mr. Beer American Light, if you will. So I'm going band.
I'm sorry, I stopped listening.
Band.
You're saying band? Okay.
Band. Long story short, band.
All right, fair enough. Moving on to Mark. Soft White Underbelly, band or beer? You can give a long explanation, too, if you want. I mean, listen.
You know, I get this. He just put a picture in my head I can't get out of right now.
Theater of the mind.
I'm going to go with beer.
Mark is going to say that's a beer. Moving over to Greg. What do you think?
It's a toss-up. I think it's a band.
All right, Greg is saying it's a band. And finally, Steph, we've got some mixed
Yeah, and I wasn't
thoughts here.
listening. I was searching. What was it called?
It's soft.
What's the band called?
It's the band or beer is called Soft White Underbelly.
White.
Soft white underbelly.
White.
Beer.
Steph is saying
Ooh.
that that's a beer, and unfortunately, you are incorrect. Dan and Greg were right because it
Yes.
is a band.
Where is this band from?
Soft White Underbelly got
Who
their
invited
start.
Greg to the table?
They got their start in the late 60s when bands were experimenting with strange names in addition to strange substances. And after a further progression of names from Oaxaca to Stalk Forest Group, finally, manager Sandy Perlman came up with a new name, Blue Oyster Cult.
What?
No way.
Yes.
Where are they from? I forget.
I don't
knew
remember.
No.
I was hoping I had it. I was hoping I
He's
had
nodding.
it in
I'm
my-
like, I'm impressed.
That's a lucky guess. All right, we're going to move along to our penultimate name. Second to last is what that means, ladies and gentlemen. And our next name of the game, and Mark's going to guess first, is Heart Full of Napalm. Is that a band or a beer?
Beer.
All right, Mark's saying that's a beer. Greg, what do you think? You sounded pretty confident.
I'm going to say beer.
You're going to say beer as well? Okay.
I'm just
Good,
saying
I'm feeling good
whatever
about
Greg
this, since
says.
he agreed with
beer.
me. I'm feeling good.
Steph is
Greg
saying
said
beer.
beer. I'm saying beer.
All right, I just want to point out that Steph has probably the closest vantage point to the score sheet here, and Greg has, in fact, gotten everyone right so far.
Yeah.
So, just if you're playing along at home,
FYI, Blue Oyster Cult is from Long Island, New York.
thank you very much.
I was a little off. What was the name of this one?
This is Heart Full of Napalm.
Beer.
All right, Dan is saying that's a beer.
I'm going to imagine it's a spicy beer.
And it looks like everybody is correct because that is, in fact, a beer. It is, however, not a spicy beer, which is a
Oh.
little disappointing. It's a 10% double IPA with Mosaic, Galaxy, and Amarillo hops by Tapestry Brewing Company in Bridgman, Michigan. As a side note, nothing to do with the beer, but the Tapestry website lists all their team members, including the bartenders, the line cooks, and the dishwashers on the website, which I thought was pretty cool. And also facts about all those people, including their favorite beers, their spirit animals, their superpowers, and their theme songs.
Wow.
Yeah, so I thought that was...
Ooh, what would my theme song
What would
be?
your theme song be?
I thought you were going to ask what your spirit animal would be.
No, I'm way. Never mind.
Your spirit animal is a cat, a domestic house cat.
Because I want to murder my owner.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of a funny answer for your theme song that wouldn't be insulting because you'd probably hit me.
Well, I'll probably hit you no matter what, but you should be used to that by now.
It would be something sung by Scott Weiland,
Of course.
of course. So I'll let you stew on that when we move on to our last name of the game, and Greg is going to go first
Vaseline.
on this one. And
Am I stuck here?
flies in
Can't
the
move
Vaseline
on?
we are.
No.
No. I don't think that works.
I don't think many. Never mind. This is a conversation for later. And Greg is up next.
Our final name of the game, and Greg is indeed going to guess first on this one, and this is Fuster Cluck.
That's a beer.
All right, he's saying that's a beer. Moving over
That
to
is a
Steph.
beer.
Steph is saying that's a beer. Dan.
Gut instinct was beer.
All right, and finally Mark.
Beer.
Beer. Everybody says beer. Everybody is correct. And that is, of course, the full name is Fuster Cluck Double Star Chicken Shotgun, and it's the double version of the more sensibly named Star Chicken Shotgun American IPA from Greenbush Brewing. And just glancing at the score sheet here, it looks like somebody
I don't know. Greg won?
is far and away the winner with a perfect score of 6 out of 6.
Wow.
Greg
All
takes
right.
the game.
Have you ever had a perfect score?
We
have,
have,
yes.
It's a rare thing.
Especially when there's 6.
Once in a blue moon, especially in a game when there's 6. Sometimes we only have like 3 or 4 questions, but this was a little longer. So congratulations to Greg, blowing away the competition. Sitting tied for second place, one shy of a German sparkle party, is Dan and Steph. And in last place, but still with 50% correct, is Mark with 3 out of
Glass
6.
half full.
Yeah,
There you
glass
go.
is always
bad.
half full. Always half full. Before we move along,
Dare we say he was 3 beers shy? 3
pints
answers shy?
I dare not say.
You tried.
I tried.
You tried. You
dare
got an
not
A
say.
for effort, but an F and a half for execution.
Whatever was just going on. I
tried.
wash my hands of it. I am not involved
Yes.
in this.
Wayne, you were about to say.
Before we move along to our next segment, it's time for our first official Patreon
Ooh.
patron roll call. Yes, this is for patrons who have.
And I must say, patrons, you have a sneak peek into one of the answers tonight. You know one of the answers to Band or Beer, so when you listen to this episode, you can impress your friends by knowing information about one of our band or beers.
At your next Beer Busters podcast listening party.
That's
I
right.
feel like I want to play music under this, but I don't have anything good, so I'm just going to play this.
Well, you come up with something. Ooh, there we go. Yeah. Well, I hope that music clip is short because at this point we do only have one person that we have to give a shout out on
and we thank you for this.
on our patron roll call. But this is for patrons that donate at a certain level. This is one of the rewards you get. This is for all the patrons. You got to be a little more generous to
These
get
are
on the
for
roll
the
call.
fancy one.
This is for the fancy patrons. So anyway, our first patron on our first Patreon patron roll call is Raymond Connor. And as he is the first, I think he needs like some sort of other title, like Master of the Universe or something.
He has the power.
So if anybody has any good ideas, we're going to officially call Raymond Connor the president of beer or something.
President of beer?
I don't know. We'll have to think about it. But yeah, so
to be determined title.
exactly. So if you want to get your chance to be on our patron roll call, you can go to patreon.com/beerbusters and be awesome.
Yes,
And
and we
though-
thank you.
Yes, we do thank you very, 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 very much. And although this person is not a patron yet, I do want to give a shout out to the guy that left the comment on our video that said he thought I was a mom with an 80s
totally
mom
forgot about that. Oh
yeah,
with
I
80s hair or something.
I'm going to see if I can pull this up.
Oh my god, I totally.
Apparently,
forgot
I
about that.
sound older than I look, or
Yes.
I am.
That.
Yeah, it was
And apparently, Dan, he thought you were like
a
Studley.
GQ model,
GQ
which
model.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, but he could not have been more wrong. Where is this? I'm going to
Yeah.
It's comments like that that just make me smile. So thank you for
Yeah.
typing that to us.
That was.
Scrolling.
Yeah,
Scrolling.
we're gonna find it.
Scrolling.
Got it.
Scrolling.
Here we go. From Dow J.
There it is. I just found it too.
This video came up in my feed, our Patreon video, came up in my feed, and I've never seen what you guys look like until now. I've listened to your podcast for quite some time, and it's so strange to put the faces that I see now to the voices. It's weird how you imagine what someone looks like after hearing their voice, and then you realize that they look nothing like you imagined. I imagine Steph with big 80s mom hair and older, Dan to be some GQ model, and Wayne to be much older and look like a father type from Leave It to Beaver.
Much older. Thank you very much.
I wish I were a GQ
Thanks,
model. Thank
Dow.
you for giving me that credit, and it slightly boosts my ego. So thank you for that.
Wow.
And yeah,
But I agree. I think Steph seems like she should have 80s mom hair.
Wow.
I don't know about 80s mom hair, but maybe like
Maybe a new look for you.
there you go.
I think so, yeah.
I'm thinking along the lines of like late 80s, early 90s, like teased out hair.
Well, I did have the perm at one point.
I don't remember that.
You were probably pretty young.
I was really young.
You were probably really young.
You know,
Yeah, I was probably
business in the front,
like
party in the rear.
11 or 12.
Steph had a mullet.
I did not have a mullet.
We're just going to spread that rumor right now. Steph had the longest mullet ever.
Wow. Thanks. Thanks, guys.
That's what we're here
Feeling
for.
the love.
On that note, do you want to
At least you're not the dad from Leave It to Beaver.
Touche.
like with the square buzz cut and the thick black glasses kind of thing and the pocket protector?
I'd totally rock
Hey,
that. That's fine.
next video idea?
We could do it.
Yeah. I think we have a prop for this.
We do have a prop for this one. I'm gonna do. Let's do it. Levels are good. Let's do this.
No. Your beers. No. Know your beers.
Steph, what do you have besides 80s hair?
Wow. So we've talked about Weissenbachs. We've talked about the Doppelbock. But today we are going to talk about the good old traditional Bock. Dark, strong, malty lager beer.
Which is more what I look like than the dad
Dark,
from Leave It to
strong,
Beaver.
and malty.
Dark, strong, and malty.
So
Why
first,
are you malty? Are you malting?
because he's
Malting.
sweet, perhaps the sweet side of malt,
And I turned into liquor.
You probably.
and yeast like me.
Yes. And yeast eat me.
First, some history. The Bock originated in Einbeck, a city in northern Germany, which was the center of brewing and popular exporter from the 14th to 17th centuries. The beer was recreated in Munich starting in the 17th century. The name Bock comes from the name Einbeck, in the Bavarian dialect, which was used after the beer came to Munich. Some believe the name Bock came from the shortening of Einbeck, thus Beck to Bock, while others believe it came from a more pagan or old world influence, that the beer was only brewed during the sign of the Capricorn goat. Perhaps my spirit animal? I don't know.
Oh, there you go. The Capricorn goat.
Perhaps. I'm not a Capricorn, though.
Also your theme song.
Wow. Hence the goat being associated with Bock beers. Bock also means billy goat in German and is often used in logos and advertisements. Back in medieval days, German monasteries would brew Bock beer for sustenance during their Lenten fasts. The modern-day Bock is a bottom-fermenting lager that requires extra month of lagering to smooth out the strong brew. Bock beer is stronger than your typical lager with a more robust malt character or Wayne character and a dark amber to brown hue. So let's get down to the specs. The aroma is strong malt aroma with a moderate amounts of rich toasty overtones. Some alcohol may be noticeable. Appearance is light copper to brown in color, often with garnet highlights. Good clarity, large, creamy, persistent off-white head. I like my heads persistent. Flavor is complex
There's a
maltiness.
joke in there somewhere.
Well, now you said it and it didn't work. The flavor is here. I'll start again so you can cut that out. And
I
then
wasn't. No.
Okay. The flavor is complex maltiness, dominating with the rich flavors of Munich and Vienna malts, which contribute toasty flavors. Caramel notes are present, and hop bitterness is just high enough to support the malt flavors, allowing a bit of sweetness to linger into the finish. Mouthfeel is medium to medium full-bodied.
Hold on, I think we have a call in.
What's your name?
Long Island, New York. Hello.
This wouldn't be the first time, right?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
There's a reason there's no longer a phone in our basement. The mouthfeel is medium to medium full-bodied, moderate to moderately low carbonation, and some alcohol warmth may be found. Decoction, mashing, and long boils play an important part of flavor development, as it enhances the caramel and melanoidin flavors aspects of the malt. Decoction mashing is, for those of you that may not know, Dan, mashing is a way to conduct multi-step mashes without adding additional water or applying heat to the mash tun.
I did not know mash tun was TUN.
Yes. It involves removing about a third of the mash to another pot where it is heated to conversion temperature, then boiled and returned to the mash tun. Some commercial examples are, of course, Einbecker's Bock, Pennsylvania Brewing, St. Nick Bock,
Oz?
Oz, yes, even with my little pronunciation.
That's how I got it.
Oz Bock, not Ozbach like the brandy, but Oz Bock. Great Lakes, Rockefeller Bock, Stegmeyer Brewhouse Bock, and of course, you can't have a Pennsylvania podcast without mentioning Yingling's Bock, which I really enjoy a good Yingling Bock.
What about I'll be Bach?
I'll be Bock.
There it is. I knew it was coming.
Yep, and that is a beer. That is a beer, not a fabrication.
You know what is a fabrication? My aching Bach. It's one of the favorite beer names I ever came up with. A Maibach.
Okay,
It's a Maibach. It's called My Aching Bach.
All right, let's brew a Maibach this spring.
All right, let's
do
and
it.
we'll name it that.
As somebody who has intermittent chronic back pain, I appreciate the name of that beer.
Intermittent. And now
The prop. We get to the prop.
we get a prop. We have
a
a
prop.
traditional Bach that Mark has brought to the table.
The prop Bach.
The
Bach
prop box. So now not only can you hear me talk about it, now you can experience it.
We need to invent like Smell-O-Vision podcast.
Taste-O-Vision?
Smello podcast. Smellcast.
Well, that's one of the things when we go to breweries, we post ahead of time the beers that we're going to be drinking. So if people really wanted to, they could go out and buy and drink them along with us.
Not this
But
time.
when we're tasting homebrews, you don't get to have it, and we do.
So
we
yeah.
will share the recipe if somebody comes into the homebrew shop.
There you
and we
go.
try
And you can make
There
it
you go.
yourself.
So come to the homebrew shop, and then you can brew this yourself.
So you may have to wait a few weeks to listen. Especially for the Bach. I don't think it'll
That's
be ready
true.
in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That'd be an amazing Bach. So you smell, you're going to get that strong malt character, of course.
A lot of Munich malt in this
Yeah.
one.
I do get a hint of booze, but I don't know if it's just my mind telling me that. Did you do a hydrometer reading, or did you brew this before you knew what a hydrometer was?
This one is just over 7%.
Yep. If you look, it's that beautiful, beautiful color, that like brownish with those amber hues,
Yep.
that reddish color,
Get a little
some nice lacing.
caramel in the nose.
Yep.
Nice little caramel note.
I really like the maltiness out of it.
It's really good. It's got like a subtle dark fruit character to
Yeah.
it as well. It's really nice.
Yeah,
Oh.
and it's not a sweet maltiness, and the fruit notes they really help round it out a lot.
It's tasty. And this is what I do not like about Bach's. It's way too drinkable.
Oh, it's so drinkable.
They get you in trouble. Because you expect something like this that drinks so... I say this all the time. Those are probably like, stop saying that again, but... I like
Her
to
and her
drink,
80s hair saying the same things over and over again.
I like to drink a lot of beer.
It's the 21st century, Steph. Come on. Is this like a recipe you've been brewing for a while?
No, first time at it.
yeah?
I
Okay.
was actually studying a couple recipes and reading some literature. Who was it? Jamil Zanishev. Greg and I, we were kind of playing around with some Bach recipes and stuff. So this is one we just kind of came up with. So the one thing I didn't do traditionally was that decoction mash that you mentioned, Steph. It was just kind of
Which is, honestly, a lot of work. So
it is,
can't
and I
blame
was
you.
I was gung ho ready to do it, and then I got to it, and I was actually reading in Jamil's. I love that. I go back to this book a lot. It's Brewing Classic Styles, right, Greg?
Yeah, it's brewing classic styles.
And I love going back and studying through some of the different styles and that they have in there, and so I kind of pulled a lot from his recipe, what he was talking about, but he actually didn't do decoction in the one recipe he talked about. So I just thought, well, if he doesn't need to do it,
Then I'm off the hook.
I don't.
Yeah.
I really do need to try it sometime just to see. I am curious to go back, even just to take this recipe, do everything the same, and actually pull off some of that mash, boil it, and really see how that changes with the melanoids you talk about. That some of the caramels and that malts, and how that changes those subtle flavors. Because I haven't done it, so
You'll have to save some of this and then have it side by side. Because this is
Yeah.
definitely more on the like you said, the dark, fruity, more side of the malt. So it would be interesting to see if you'd get more of that caramel.
So sort of a richer.
I mean, it's there,
yeah.
but it'd be interesting to see if it's
Bring
even
more of that,
if the mash, if those extra steps really do make a difference.
And that's one of the cool things I imagine to be homebrewing is that you can do things like that because you're not making barrels of beer. You're making 5 gallons. So you can try a recipe like this, and then, like you said, you can go back and you can try doing the decoction mashing and see what that brings to the beer and how it changes the profile of it, and experiment with things like that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, in fact, I even did just 2 days ago. I started did a little brew, and it's just a little half batch. It's 2.5 gallon to do 1 case. It's a Belgian dark strong. It was a recipe I hadn't done in a while, and got ambitious and wanted to make again. So just a little batch and try some different things. I'm going to be throwing some dark candy syrup in the. I might even do it tonight when I get home. Actually, I'm letting it ferment for a few days, and then I'm throwing it in while it's kind of settling down. But lots of fun things to try.
Yeah, that's cool. I will say, from a taster's perspective, as someone who doesn't do homebrewing, I enjoy tasting the same recipe then pitched with different yeasts. I really like to see what different yeasts. We did that with Out of Hands with Joe and Matt, and they had quads. Lots of quads. They had I don't remember the specifics, but the same recipe basically, and different yeasts in them, and it's just amazing to see what that brings to it, and being a homebrewer,
that and even just changing the temperature of the fermentation. A lot you can do there, yeah.
I've learned that I love brewing saisons. And that is one yeast that loves to be at a high temperature. And it's really interesting to see when you brew a saison at what you typically think of as a normal fermentation temperature versus what a saison yeast really likes, that like high, the 70 degrees. And it really brings out a different profile in the yeast, that like fruitier versus the spicier. And it's fun to play around. And I think a lot of homebrewers, temperature is something they don't often think about.
And I think in the homebrewing situation, it's a little more difficult to control than the other variables.
Yeah, I mean, you can get a 7 cubic foot freezer and rig your own little temperature control thing for like $30. And I mean, it is possible. It's just having the space and taking the time to do it. But it is a vital part of the process.
Could you just like cradle the carboy and like give it your body?
Well, I'll tell you what.
The whole time it's fermenting.
The very first
see what happens then.
The very first time I ever brewed a lager, I kept it in I kept the carboy covered in towels in a big bucket in the garage, and I would just keep replacing ice packs just to keep it down to because I didn't have a way to keep it at lager temperatures, and it actually didn't turn out too bad. It was an Oktoberfest that I brewed, and it actually turned out. I mean, now that I have ways to control the temperature throughout the entire fermentation process, and I don't need to do that anymore, it's a lot better. But
very resourceful.
Yeah, or like the saison when it just doesn't start fermenting, and you like put it by the heater and come on, ferment, damn it, ferment.
A gentle nudge.
Or you drive to Lancaster Homebrew at the threat of a snowstorm just to get new yeast, and then you drive all the way back home, which yes, it did happen at one point.
I'm sure your DD must have loved that.
Yeah.
Oh, he was talking about it on the way here.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
We were reminiscing about that night.
Of course.
I need to get more yeast. It's gonna snow. I need it now. Anything in the name of saving the beer.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. Once I actually start real brewing, I'm sure I will understand that slightly more. But shall we?
Let's
Let's
shall. In the words of our shirts, we should beer.
Beer me! Beer me! Beer me! Beer me!
Round 2, fight.
All right, so we're starting off here with is this the Irish Stout? I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, it's a dry Irish stout.
And Greg, this is one of your beers, correct?
Oh,
this is one that I made, yeah.
All right. So what's the scoop with this one?
Well, the whole idea with this beer is I wanted a stout that didn't have a lot of caramel character to it. This beer actually doesn't have any caramel malt in it. So I was looking for something more dry along the lines of, a Guinness, dry, pretty well attenuated, but, some good roast character as well, obviously. What drew me to the recipe that I tried, though, was that the recipe involved pulverizing black malt or roasted barley. It was roasted barley. There's not even black malt in here, which normally black malt is a feature of pretty much every stout. But this recipe had roasted barley run through a coffee grinder, and I thought, that sounds crazy. I just have to try it. So for anybody out there who doesn't homebrew, generally you don't grind your grains that much.
That's fine.
That's usually
that's
a recipe
extreme.
for just leaching a lot of tannins into your beer. But in this case, it works. Something about it works. So
I wonder if that takes away from that bitter astringency that sometimes you get from the darker malts. I don't know. I really like this. I'm almost getting a cherry taste at one point. Like it.
Well, now that you mention it,
am I crazy?
yeah. No, you mentioned it.
It's actually right before you said it, I thought that, and I didn't want to sound stupid.
No, but then it's not like sweet. It's like a tart cherry, and then it ends. I don't know.
Like a dark cherry, black cherry.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And when you say it's not, you don't get sort of that malt bitterness that you will sometimes get with a beer of this style.
Right.
And being a dry Irish stout, and it does finish very dry, and it's not super sweet, like you said. Like it has that some of that fruit character to it, but without the sweetness.
Well, and I kind of combine two thoughts in one. That's how my brain works. But the reason I brought up the bitter astringency part is it almost reminds me of like cold brewed coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Like we used to. Mike used to make that at Iron Hill, where he'd put it in the night before and steep it, and you'd get the wonderful coffee flavor, but that bitterness was gone from cold brewing it. And it almost reminded me of this, like you get the wonderful flavor of these dark malts, but almost that harsh bitterness is not there. It's really
but not
smooth.
astringent.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if the types of malt, or I'm very curious about what this pulverizing did. I'm trying to piece it together in my mind what that would do.
Yeah.
Well, the roasted barley typically has a little bit more of a roasty flavor to it. It's not quite as pronounced as something like a black patent malt.
Right.
Black patent malt has that astringency to it, and I think, just from my experience with this beer now, is that the roasted barley getting pulverized leached enough tannins that you get a little bit of that bitterness, but it's not as sharp as using a black patent malt.
Right. It's nice.
It's definitely.
I was just going to say, this beer is smoothed out too. The longer it sits
Yes.
in the lagering in our fridge, any beer, I'm telling you, any beer that gets some time to lager, man, it changes it, and for the better.
Yeah.
And this beer keeps getting better the longer it sits back there.
Especially beers on peppers, right?
Of course. But it is very, very drinkable considering the style, which is really nice because you get the character. It's got wonderful flavor. It's got wonderful things going on.
I want it on nitro.
It drinks very easy, and it would be really good on nitro.
I want it on nitro.
And it is pretty drinkable. It's only 4%. I've been on more of a sessionable train lately,
Nice.
so
I appreciate
Me
that.
too.
yeah.
I've declared that I'm going to do a bottle share of only session beers.
That's
That
a good
would be
idea.
a
Sick
good
and
idea.
tired of going to these places where there's so many beers I
Bottle
want to try.
shares are good places to get in trouble
Yeah, like 19.2%. Really?
because people want to break out their
Really?
big guns, and you just
What was
like,
19.2?
But I gotta try them.
Something from the brewery. What was it? Mocha Wednesday. Like, it's wonderful, but I would like to be able to try other beers too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or like more than like a thimbleful of each beer. Like
Exactly.
Yeah.
Session beer bottle share. You heard it here first.
Hashtag tangent.
Sponsored by Beer Busters.
But yeah, I actually would have pegged the ABV on this higher. I was surprised when you said 4. Oh.
Isn't it nice when that happens?
Very nice.
It's got a
It is
good
nice.
body for a 4%.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very, very flavorful and robust.
That's a good topic. A lot of times I have this conversation with people about one of the downfalls of homebrews is the mouthfeel. And typically a lot of, it's not always a negative comment, but a lot of times, oh, it's good, but it's thin. So if a brewer comes in your shop and says, I really like this beer, but I want it to have more body, I want it to have a thicker mouthfeel, what do you recommend to them of how to adjust their recipe so that they can get more of that creamy texture, similar to what this has?
Probably the most common is using dextrin malt. For extract brewers, we can use maltodextrin. It's a powder. Gives you that viscosity, mouthfeel without the flavor. And so it doesn't change the flavor profile, but it does thicken it up and just give a little more mouthfeel. So that's the first thing we'd look at doing for the all grain brewers, especially doing like these 4% beers. Like Greg and I have been, we both been kind of starting to lean that way because we've been just kind of getting everything has been so strong and high ABVs and stuff, and so we've been looking at some of these other beer styles, and if you make them correctly, they can be flavorful. They can have nice mouthfeel, and so with the all grain brewers, we can do a 4% beer and just we call it mashing with a little bit higher temperature. It leaves a little bit. The sugars become just a little less fermentable, and so it leaves some a little more mouthfeel that way too. So that's another thing you can do. Also, the yeast strain you choose. There are some yeast strains are going to ferment out more thoroughly and what's called attenuate, where it'll dry the beer out more versus, say, using an English strain, which, did you say what?
This was an Irish strain,
Okay.
so yeah, same characteristics.
Chet generally doesn't attenuate quite as well, so it'll leave a little bit of residual sweetness, which also gives some of that perception of body and a little just so it isn't thin. for a lower ABV beer. So a couple different things there that we can tricks to make that work.
You mentioned in all grain, like increasing the mash temperature to have less fermentable sugars or the different yeasts that maybe don't attenuate as much. But that would, I would think, affect the flavor profile as well, because you would be a little sweeter.
The mash,
yeah.
We're talking. It's
like
small,
minuscule,
yeah. Maybe just a hint more sweetness, but it's just enough to give it some body.
Mm-hmm.
I recall there's a recipe that we did. It was a lower. It was an old. It's like a Schwarzbier style, Schwarzbier. I don't know, like a black lager style. Chad Ricker when he was at Iron Hill and I was with Kettleworks, we brewed that together. It was an old family recipe of his, and I think he did like it's a lower gravity beer, and I think he did kind of a mash. It was 155, 156 for like a mash, just to thicken it up.
Mm-hmm.
So you will get a little sweetness, but it's not going to change it drastically. But it does give some difference in the perception of mouthfeel.
Right. Yeah, it was just interesting comparing it to like what you had said for extract using that was the maltodextrin, which wouldn't really affect the flavor.
Correct.
At all. Whereas, like you said, the options with all grain would have a slight. But,
you can use that carapils or dextrin maltodextrin in an all grain recipe too. Very commonly used. So, yeah.
Another thing that this beer has as well is flaked grains. Flaked grains can help add a little bit of mouthfeel too, because they've got gelatinized starches that kind of come out in the finished beer. So in this case, it used flaked barley, which helped with the, give mouthfeel without, being an additional flavor layer there too.
This is very good. I really like this. Yeah.
That's good. To me, it's coming off as like cherry, but I love that. So I'm trying to stick with the Pennsylvania beers tonight. So I was trying to look for something else Pennsylvania in my fridge, and I actually picked this up for us to have over the holidays, but it wasn't one we pulled out. This is from Susquehanna Brewing Company, which there's a special place in my heart for this brewery because this is when I first met Domestic Trevor.
Oh, nice.
SUSQUEHANNA.
When we first met Trevor, he was still a rep for Susquehanna Brewing Company, and as everyone knows now, he's with our favorite evil geniuses or evil genii or whatever we determined was the correct plural of that. But this is their Toboggan, which is a chocolate Doppelbock. So we'll pass this around the table.
That sounds fun.
So we were all ready to record there, and then he left and went to Evil Genius. So we have yet to record at Susquehanna, though I have written about their beers and written about their brewery, and they're Pennsylvania. So we'll give them a shout out here.
Oh, it's got a beautiful color. I really like the color of this. It's not what you expect. You hear chocolate, regardless of the style. You hear chocolate, you're expecting dark.
Yeah, really
motor
dark.
oil. Even though it is a Doppelbock, you wouldn't expect a Doppelbock to be that dark, but. It's a really lovely color.
Yes, you would. Did you not listen to my Doppelbock Know Your Beers? You need to go back and listen to that.
Sorry.
So this is 8.7%. So it's interesting to think back to the traditional Bock and now the Doppelbock.
A little richer.
Yeah.
Definitely. And as I recall from your Know Your Beers, Doppelbock literally means double bock.
Wow. Genius.
What a great memory.
I do listen.
Genius.
I don't know that I get much. You said it's chocolate. I don't get much chocolate.
Chocolate malt.
Is it chocolate malt? Chocolate what?
Chocolate
says it
malt,
uses chocolate.
cocoa, and finished with Hellertau hops for a malty yet balanced beer. It says cocoa. I don't know if it's like cocoa nibs or what the. It's quite good.
It is very good.
Oh yeah, I don't want that to be misconstrued for me saying that I don't like it. I just don't know that I'm getting much chocolate out of it.
I like the bit of bitterness at the end, and I guess that would be the addition of the hops at the end. But
yeah. Mm-hmm. It's got a very strong characteristic to it, which I really, really, really like.
I definitely taste the higher ABV. Like, I don't know that it's like really hidden as it is in some beers.
Definitely taste this more than the other box.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd ping this. Okay, this is up there, and it's sweeter in the aroma than the taste.
This is a Doppelbock that doesn't have ATOR at the end of its name.
Oh, that's true. It's not an Ader.
It's not an Ader. You're
It's
right.
not an Ader. It could be the Tobogganator, which I think would be better. All right, Susquehanna, up your game. Tobogganator is definitely a better name. It does say here, it is a collaboration with Some Chocolates as an AH exclamation point.
The chocolate's definitely an afterthought if it is.
You did.
It's definitely not. From
I'm all right
Sarah.
with that because it's good. It's just it's rich, malty. Tastes like a Doppelbock.
It does.
Clean finish, clean lager taste.
And I think the chocolate sort of comes in with the hop bitterness at the end. You know, that's that slight little bitter finish. You get a little bit of the chocolate character there. I'm just gonna call it Tobogganator.
Tobogganator.
I don't care what anybody says.
So we had a couple of really, really good beers, which can showcase what you can do if you visit a homebrew shop, much like the one that we are currently in.
I wish there was more of that citrus mash at the table. Just saying.
That was
really
good.
Just saying.
That was really
delish.
good.
Yeah. So
Drank it all.
I know,
it's
right?
all gone. Sign of a good beer. Sign of a very.
It was
good
even
beer.
in a cool blue growler. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh wait, here's just a little bit.
There's
Of,
there's a tiny bit.
Tiny bit.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Steph. It's
Here.
all you.
It's good for digestion.
Another cup
Yes.
there for you.
But if you want to make beers of this nature, come on out to Lancaster Homebrew and talk to the guys that are here. Mark and Greg know their stuff more than
And the other guys here do too.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they do. These.
But they're not
guys
Mark
here.
and Greg.
Exactly. I mean,
they're not celebrities like Mark and
But
Greg.
if we were to say that, it would just be hearsay because we don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
I
this
do.
is true.
We've talked to these guys.
Yes, we have. We have indeed, and it's recorded, so there is proof and evidence. But what are the hours? When can people come to Lancaster Homebrew?
Hours are 11 to 7 Monday through Thursday, Friday 11 to 6, and Saturday 9 till 3.
Okay. And Steph had mentioned earlier you have an online shop, so if you can't get to Lancaster Homebrew, you can at least still shop from.
We can send it to you.
That's awesome.
I've been told we have a great site for guys that are ordering grains and stuff. They can create their own little grain bills, separate grain bills, and crushed, uncrushed, and any amount they want. So check it out.
Yeah. Is it just LancasterHomebrew.com?
That's correct.
Cool. Lancaster Homebrew. I slurred a little bit there. Lancaster Homebrew.
Not homework.
Not homework, as our notes would have us believe.
And if you're interested in being part of the Lancaster Iron Brewer Homebrew Competition, whether you want to submit beers, make sure they're here at the store by March 1st, or if you just want to hang out and spy on the judges, you can do that on Saturday, March 5th at Springhouse Brewing Company, or you want to come out for the celebration and announcement party on Tuesday, March 8th at Columbia Kettle Works and listen to 2 Pint Shy.
Pint Shy.
If you are busy that day, 2 Pint Shy will also be at January 29th at Mad Chef Craft Brewing, February 17th at Wacker Brewing, February 27th at Moo Dunk Brewery, and March 8th at Columbia Kettle Works.
Steph, if I'm interested in learning how to homebrew, when should I come here to Lancaster Homebrew in order to make that happen?
Well, Wayne, the next beginner's beer brewing class is on February 6th. And for a slight fee of $15, you can learn everything there is to know to start your first homebrew. And who knows, maybe if you mention Beer Busters, maybe Mark will give you a bit of a discount if you want to purchase some equipment and or ingredients and or fun toys that
We
he
can
has
do
here
that.
in the shop.
All right. You heard it here first. And only here. Exclusive to Beer Busters. Yes. So definitely check out Lancaster Homebrew. And it's a good way to start a hobby that I'm sure in no time I will graduate from my Mr. Beer and want to do more and spend a lot of money here. So
You're going to spend a lot of money on beer anyway. So.
Well, yeah, exactly. This way I get to make it and I know exactly what goes into
Absolutely.
it. So my-
Speaking of spending money,
Nice. Smooth, Wayne.
God damn it.
if you've got some extra money to spend and you want to support Beer Busters, the podcast, and more that you love so much, you can go to patreon.com/beerbusters and you can donate a couple of bucks to us each time we release a podcast episode, get cool behind the scenes perks, and generally be awesome. And you can donate as little as $1 a month. We don't care. It's $1. We'll take it.
With that $1, you get access to our exclusive activity feed, which we are hell-bent on making exclusive content for it, like an upcoming gag reel from the video that I'm afraid of God only knows what you have cooking up. God only knows what you're brewing.
There's at least 2 instances of you talking about the fact that you really had to use the bathroom.
Oh, really? That's making it in the.
I believe I can quote. Can I poop now?
Can I poop now?
Listen, we went to the Tomcat that morning, and we were on a tight schedule, and then we had to go to Turkey Hill.
When you finished the last line of your last take of the script, you just dropped it and were like, all right, going to poop.
I'm glad you finished that and not just ended with dropped it, because that could have been a very different sentence. So, patreon.com/beerbusters to learn how to see how I have to poop all the time, apparently. As Wayne put it earlier, that's my MO. Another thing you can do is go to audibletrial.com/beerbusters, sign up for your free 30-day trial of Audible, where you get to download and keep a free audiobook of any size, length, file size, duration, other monitor, measurement of time, whatever. But go in, sign up, download a free book, support Beer Busters in the process of it. Plus, let's face it, nobody has time to read anymore, so just let somebody do it for you. If you keep your membership, you're just paying somebody to read to you. Remember, like when you're a kid and you can't go to sleep unless somebody reads you a bedtime story?
I don't remember any of my childhood.
Of course you don't. So typically when you're a child, you want a parent to read you a bedtime story. This could be your bedtime story. It's just pumping through your headphones through audibletrial.com.
Dude, I thought we were going to be done with this episode like 20 minutes ago. I don't know what's going on.
This is what happens when I drink and you tell me to plug things.
Mark and Greg left like 5
They
minutes
did.
ago.
We're still in the homebrew shop.
I think we're locked in, guys. All the lights are off.
Oh, my God. Where'd Rich go? Is he with them? But anyway.
He's at YP.
Yeah, of course. Guys, thank you so much for having us out here.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
It was a lot of fun. The beers.
It was fun.
Great. Yes. And I look forward to giving you my credit card for when I start homebrewing for reals.
You really should brew with me first.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Steph, I'm going to brew with you first.
Sounds good.
All right,
I'm doing
let's do
my
that.
Rauk beer next weekend, so come over.
Okay. Maybe. But that brings us to the end, unfortunately, of another episode of Beer Busters. And it was worth the trip to Lancaster for sure. And if you want to enter the hobby and rabbit hole of homebrewing, start here. The guys know what they're talking about, and they will not lead you astray. They'll get you what you need. You'll make some great beer. You'll come back for more.
And you can say you started homebrewing where Steph started homebrewing.
That's true. That's true. Who doesn't want to admit that?
That's right.
Well, I am Dan Baker, joined, as always, by my co-host and brewologist.
Steph Huffner.
And, of course, our fermenter-tainer.
Wayne Baker.
And walking around nervously is our DD, Rich. Thank you so much for everything, Rich. No squids were harmed in the making of this episode. We'll see you next time.
Business in the front, party in the rear.